everyone. We are continuing our study, our limud of Sefer Yechezkel. We are up to Perek Tes, which is really the middle of a nevuah. Yechezkel was miraculously transported from Bavel to the Makom HaMikdash. He saw many tayevais that the Jewish people were doing, including tzaddikim, so-called tzaddikim, who were sinning in a hidden way. And then Yechezkel is continuing describing what he is experiencing in the Makom HaMikdash. And Perek Tes Pasuk Aleph says, Vayikra bi'oznai kail gadol lemar. I hear a very loud voice in my ear. Karvu pekudei so'ir. Those who are in charge of the city should draw forward. V'ish kli mashchiso biyado, and each of the people, each of the angels that are in charge of destroying the city should come forward with their weapons of destruction. This is a voice. Now it doesn't say who announced it. Was it Hashem? Was it a malach? But an announcement was made. Let the 6 malachei chavala enter the city. V'hinei, shisha anoshim ba'im miderech shar elyon asher mefanet tzefeina. 6 men, these are actually angels in the shape of men, they enter from the north. Now again, this is a remnant. Now this for sure, okay, we had a machlekes if the tayevais that he saw actually happened or not. Now this is happening in Ruchnius, but the actual destruction that the angels are doing didn't happen yet. Because remember, this is in the 6th year of Galus Yahayachin, which is 5 years before the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. So when we're going to read about these malachim destroying people in the city, that did not happen yet. That's a nevuah, what will happen. And what Yechezkel saw was 6 people entered from the north. Again, that's a reference to Bavel. They entered the Azara. The ish klei mapatzo biyado, and each one of these 6 people had a weapon of destruction in his hand. V'ish echad b'seicham, but there was one other man, a 7th man, lavush badim, who was dressed in beautiful linen. V'keses hasofer b'masnav, and on his loins and his waist there was the quill of a scribe. It was like a sofer, like a pen that a sofer uses. Vayavayu vayamdu eitzel mizbach hanacheshes, and this is Yechezkel sees this, and the 6 anoshim. And Rashi points out from the Gemara in Shabbos that these are personifications of 6 types of divine wrath: ketzef, af, chema, mashchis, meshaber, mechala. Again, in English it's hard to differentiate these things, but ketzef, anger; af, fury; chema, anger; mashchis, destruction; meshaber, breaking; mechala, destroying. Right? 6 angels of destruction. And they all stand next to the copper mizbeach. Now again, just a little point of clarification. The main mizbeach upon which all of the korbanos are brought is not in the heichal, it is in the azara, it is in the courtyard. And that is called mizbach hanacheshes because in the midbar, it was wood that was overlaid with copper, and it was hollow, and every time they would, the Mishkan would come to rest, they would fill it up with dirt to give it stability. But it is called the copper Mizbeach, because indeed, in the Mishkan, the Mizbeach that Betzalel made for the Mishkan is a Mizbeach Nechayshis. Now, the truth of the matter is, in the Beis HaMikdash, and whether it's the Rishon or the Sheni, the Mizbeach was not Nechayshis. It's a Mizbeach Avonim. The Torah itself says that the Mizbeach is supposed to be Avonim. And what you find, however, is that in Tanakh, the Mizbeach is often still referred to the Mizbach HaNechayshas although by this time it was not Necheshes. So when he says Mizbeach Necheshes, it just means the outer Mizbeach, the main Mizbeach were Korbanos, but in point of fact, it was Avonim. So we have in front of the Mizbeach, we have 6 Malachei Chavala in the Demus of an Adam, and the 7th Malach seems to be a secretary who is supposed to record something with a Keses HaSofer, the quill of a scribe. Now, Pasuk Gimel switches the action a little bit. Uchavaid Elokei Yisrael, the glory of God. Now, the glory of God in the Mikdash is constant, whatever that means, is concentrated in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Keruvim between the cherubs that are above the Aron HaKodesh. The Navi Yechezkel is graphically describing how the Shekhinah is getting ready to leave the Beis HaMikdash. And it does this very gradually. In fact, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah actually says there were 10 different movements. These prakim do not give us all of the movements, but this is movement number 1. The glory of God left the cherub above the Aron, El Miftan Habayis, and it moved from the Kruv, which is on top of the Aron, to the Miftan, to the threshold. Now this either means the threshold of the Kodesh HaKadoshim or the threshold of the Heichal. But be it as it may, this is the first mention of a distancing, a dislocation. Hashem is moving out, quite literally. The Beis HaMikdash was not destroyed until Hashem moved out. So the moving out is from the Kruv to the Miftan Habayis, and then from the Miftan Habayis, Hashem issues an instruction to the Sofer, who is standing next to the other 6 by the Mizbeach HaNecheshes. Vayikra Eloish Halavush Badim. Hashem calls out to the man, really it's the angel, that is dressed in linen, Asher Keses HaSofer B'masnav, that the scribal quill is in his loins, in his waist. Vayemer Hashem Elav. Now it's notable, the word Hashem is Yudkei Vokei, which is Rachamim, meaning there is a midah of Rachamim here. Avor b'teicho ir, b'toch Yerushalayim. Go through the whole city. V'hisvisa tav, and inscribe a mark. So the Keses HaSofer, again, this is all spiritual, is Hashem says, I am geyser destruction on this city. But there are great, great tzaddikim that I don't want the Malach HaMaves to destroy. So it's your job, Keses HaSofer, to identify the tzaddikim and put a mark on their forehead so the Malach HaMaves will know not to kill them. You should make a mark on the foreheads of the Anoshim, Hanenochim, who are groaning, Venenochim, who are screaming, those who are praying to Hashem. Al Kol HaTayevos Hanasas B'Seicha, that they are in grief over the abominations. They deserve to be saved. So put the letter on their foreheads to be an oath that they would be saved. So that's what Hashem said to the one with the quill pen. And Pasuk Hey says, Uliela, and to the other 6, Amar B'Yaznai, I heard with my own ears. He gave them permission, or a commandment, to go through the city and kill everybody else. Now again, this didn't happen now, although the Navi is visualizing it as happening now, but this didn't happen in Gashmias until 5 or 6 years later. But this is what the Navi experiences. Ivru Be'ir Acharov. Follow this angel that is giving people the mark. Vahaku, and kill, smite, destroy. Al tachos einchem v'al tachmolu. Do not have compassion. Zakein bachar basula. The old people, the young boys, the young girls, tafin hashim, children and women, tahargu lamashchis. Kill until utter destruction. Now again, Lamaisa, people weren't killed by angels, they were killed by war, by famine or disease, but basically it means that the kayach of mashchis was released. V'al kol ish asher lav hatav al tigashu. But any person that has the mark of the righteous, do not draw near, meaning tzaddikim will be spared. But then, the pasuk goes on and says, Umimikdashi tachelu. Begin your destruction in the Beis HaMikdash itself, because that's indeed where they're positioned, and indeed it says, Vayachelu, this is Yechezkel's vision, it didn't happen yet. Vayachelu ba'anoshim hazakenim asher lifnei habayis. And I saw the Malachei Chavala that were beginning with the Zakenim who were in front of the Mikdash. Rashi actually brings, or the Radak actually brings, that this could refer to the 70 elders who were in the hidden room because they were not tzaddikim. Now it's interesting though. The Gemara in Shabbos has a very, very frightening interpretation of the pasuk. The pasuk here says, start from my sanctuary, start from my mikdash. Umimikdashi tachelu. But the Gemara in Shabbos says, al tikri, do not read this word, start from the mikdash, but start mimekudashai, start from the holy ones, kill the tzaddikim. So l'chayra, there's a contradiction, because right before Hashem said, anyone that has the mark of righteousness, don't touch. And then he says, kill them? So the Gemara says in Shabbos a very frightening thing. Normally when HaKadosh Baruch Hu decrees a bracha, he's never chayzer. That's why we say that any nevuah that is a bad nevuah, if it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean he's a false prophet. Hashem has rachamim. If a navi gives you a nevuah taiva that doesn't happen, he must be a navi sheker, because Hashem is not chayzer on the brachos that he promises. That's why a navi can only be tested by a nevuah l'taiva and not by a nevuah l'ra. That's what the Rambam says. But the Gemara in Shabbos says every rule has an exception, and this is an exception. Hashem originally decreed that the tzaddikim should be saved, and then he was chayzer that even the tzaddikim would die. Why? The Midas Hadin was makatrek. Gemara in Shabbos, and the Midas Hadin said, "Ma nishtanu elu me'elu." Why is one group better than another group? And Hashem said, "Well, these are tzaddikim." But the Midas Hadin says, even if they're tzaddikim, hayolahem limchais, they should have protested the evil. They weren't meicha. They let people sin. They didn't do anything about it. But the Midah of Rachamim said, Hashem, Galoi v'yadua lefanecha. You know that if they would have been meicha, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been effective. How can you blame them for not being meicha? It wouldn't have done anything anyway. But the Midas Hadin said, you knew, Hashem, but they didn't know. Why weren't they meicha? And for that, Hashem was chayzer. And even the tzaddikim died. That's the Gemara in Shabbos. Vayomer aleihem. And Hashem says, aleihem, to the angels of Chavala, Timu es abayis, make the Beis HaMikdash tamei, meaning kill the corpses. Yeah, make it tamei because it is tamei. Umilu et hachatzeres chalalim, and fill the courtyards of the Mikdash with corpses, seyu, that are going to be taken away from here. V'yatzu v'hiku ba'ir, and then go out and smite the city. So Yirmiyahu, and again, this isn't happening yet. This for sure is not happening yet. But Yirmiyahu has a vision of these angels going through the city, murdering people one after the other. Vayika hakaisam, as I see all of this murder happening. V'neshar ani, and I remain alive. V'epla al panai, and I fall on my face. V'ezak, and I scream. V'aymar aha, alas, Hashem Elokim, hamashchis ata eskol she'eris Yisrael. Are you going to destroy all of the remnant of Israel? B'shavchacha es chamascha Yerushalayim, because you're pouring your anger on Yerushalayim. V'yayimer Elai, and Hashem said to me, right as this massacre is happening, again, spiritually, Avain Beis Yisrael v'Yehuda gadol mi'ay, the sin of Yisrael and Yehuda is very great. V'timolei aretz damim, the land is filled with murder. V'yayer mala muta, and the city is filled with perversion, crookedness. Ki amru, because people have the attitude, Azav Hashem es aretz, Hashem has forsaken the land. He doesn't care anymore. V'yein Hashem raya, and Hashem doesn't see. And the gamani lo achay leisachus einay, my eye will not have compassion. I will not be compassionate. Darkam bereisham nasati, their perverted evil way I've put back on their head. They're getting hit with the rishus of their actions. So Yechezkel is trying to stop this, and Hashem says, nope, too late for that. V'hinei ha'ish lavush habadim asher hakeses b'masnav. And in the meantime, the man dressed in linen, who is kind of in charge of the group, that has the quill of the scribe in his waist, Meishiv Davar, he comes back, Lamar, Osisi, Kechayel, Asher, Tzivisani. I have done everything you have commanded. Mission accomplished. The Chorban is a done deal. Now again, this is a nevuah 5 years before, but Yechezkel is seeing in Ruchnius what has already been decreed.